We're here today to talk about iMovr, and I have Ron Wiener on the show, who is a very interesting guest. He's been in, the technology industry world for quite some time now. He's been actually an entrepreneur for more than 30 years, having experience in building companies in the internet software, electronics, manufacturing, aviation, transportation. It's a long list of things actually. And Ron has been the founder and CEO of 8 investor-backed companies, startups, I should say. And that has been starting back in 1988. That's probably before startups were cool, I guess. So that was very, very interesting journey. And obviously multiple successful exits on that as well. So for the past 8 years, Ron has been working on iMovr, a very interesting company. They're innovating in the field of active workstations. And we're going to learn all about that today. So Ron, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Very good. So maybe, I've said a little bit, but maybe tell us about it, iMovr, in your own words. What is it all about?
Well, we're all about trying to find a scalable way to get as many people as possible into a healthier workday flow, meaning that 200 years ago, before the Industrial Revolution, the average person would sit 3 hours a day. And with factories and then tech and computer jobs, just in the US, out of 300 million people, 100 million have a sitting job, sedentary job at a desk. And of course, we also have the commute. We also have restaurants. We don't grow our own gardens and make our own food anymore. We drive to a restaurant, or at least before COVID we did. You add it all up with 5 hours of quality television programming every night, and the average person is spending the majority of their day seated, and this has wreaked havoc on our body. And so active workstations, simply stated, are standing desks and also treadmill desks, also sit-stand meeting tables. And so our products allow people, employees and companies in particular, and of course right now 95% of our shipments are to a home, but it allows them to spend less time sitting fundamentally. People get all crazed about personal quantification. They have the Fitbit and the Garmin and the iWatch, right? And they want to know how many steps they're taking on their treadmill desk or how many calories they're burning. And it's really, I tell people it's all irrelevant. Our goal is to have people sit less. What they do after that, sure, there's some importance to switching up the routines so you're not standing for too long or walking for too long, just like sitting for too long is bad for you. Just giving people options so that they can keep working, actually be more productive because you get more oxygen flow to the brain. Your caveman DNA kicks in and you focus more, you tend to tune out distractions more. So it's an improvement in health, but it's also an improvement in productivity. And so we help people find their way into that journey. And in many cases, we work with HR and corporate wellness teams in companies to create programs for recruiting hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of employees into that. Of course, you're in Germany, where this whole trend happened 15 years before it came to the United States. We're actually quite laggard in this realm, and that's why all the German and Scandinavian manufacturers of components for these products have big factories here, and this is the growth market now in the US.
Very, very interesting. Maybe so for everybody who is listening and can get a good understanding of your company. Maybe a couple of questions just about the company. So maybe tell us something interesting about the company. So maybe, I don't know, how many clients do you have? How many visitors on the page? Any, prizes that you want? Maybe an interesting fact about the company.
Sure. Well, we actually have multiple companies under one umbrella of Thermogenesis Group. iMovr is what we're best known for. It is where we generate all of our revenue. And iMovr has over 30,000 customer accounts, including the entire Fortune 1000 and every government agency you can think of. So for a 7-year-old brand, we've penetrated the market very rapidly and entirely through e-commerce. We're in an industry where the conventional office furniture companies, the big names here in the States would be like Steelcase, Herman Miller. They have sold with a particular business model for about 80, 100 years, where they go through dealers who have architects and designers involved and installers at the end. And you place your order or you get your quotes for your furniture about a year before you receive the furniture. And this, of course, is not internet time, right? Internet time is Amazon. I want to go online and buy a desk and have it here tomorrow or today. And so we really kind of broke into the industry into a very traditional old school distribution channel with e-commerce. We're not the only one. Obviously, Amazon is also a big player, but more on low-end products. Our focus has been that our workstations are completely tuned for ergonomics. In our competitive field, besides the way they sold products, and not really responding to consumers or businesses that would like to have the desk there in a week or two, their ergonomics were non-existent. All their ergonomics they relied upon were from research done 40 years ago. Here in the States, it's OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, I believe. And it was all figured out based on secretaries working on IBM Selectric typewriters. And we did a lot of science. We did a lot of R&D, a lot of engineering with ergonomists in particular to figure out, okay, if you're at a standing desk, how are the ergonomics different? And all our competitors show that a 90-degree angle at the elbow, your hands flat on the desk is neutral, but that's not neutral. You're actually activating quite a few muscles there. Neutral is like a sleeping astronaut, right? Your arms fall down. And so we designed special keyboard trays and monitor arms, all kinds of things to make it more appropriate for standing desks and treadmill desks. So we lead the industry by far globally on the innovation and patents and research in this area. And then we're very unique as well in that we're kind of like Dell Computer. I don't know if you have that there in Germany, but everybody else, they manufacture X number of different tabletop sizes and colors and put them in inventory. We have hundreds of thousands of part numbers because customer comes to our site and customizes their workstation to exactly fit their space. We have 58 different decors, different laminates, solid wood, and so forth. And so as soon as credit card clears, a robot in Michigan pulls a piece of wood, puts it on a CNC machine, starts to shape it, laminate it, and a week later, their desk is shipped out, fully assembled. So that's another thing that's very unique about us is that we designed our products to be installed without tools. So our competitors' products show up as a box like an IKEA kit, an IKEA project, if you have those there, you're going to spend an hour or two on the floor. Hopefully you have a toolbox and mechanical skills and the time to do this and the space to do it. Our desks go together in a couple of minutes with no tools. So we pre-assemble and pre-test everything. So we really try to create an experience that's much more of the expectation of an Amazon customer as opposed to a business that has professional installers and an IT department, a facilities department to deal with bringing in furniture. And I'd say the most interesting thing, our business, as you know, has tripled overnight with COVID. Obviously, we see a huge market opportunity with now there are 100 million desk workers, and most of them are going to want an ergonomic desk at home as well now. So the market has expanded very significantly, but we were in a great place to capitalize on this because all of our competitors whose stock prices are in the toilet right now, companies aren't expanding corporate offices. If anything, they're backing out of leases. And so our products are able to be put together by the end user and fit their home, fit their smaller space that they have at home for their office and so forth. And so companies, if you think about it, say the most interesting thing to me about COVID is that previously a company would buy, let's say, 5,000 desks. There'd be a handful of people who'd be in charge of that decision, working with interior designers and the installers and the architects and the manufacturers. And a year after they start working on a new building, people are standing at desks. And now it has been completely democratized. Each user is making their own decision, and the company is reimbursing them.
Yep.
The company's responsibility for ergonomics, for making sure that their employees aren't getting any kind of injuries, because at work they used to have a monitor arm and a keyboard tray and a fancy chair and an ergonomist that went around and tuned everybody's desk. At home they can't do that, especially during lockdown. They can't do that. And so our products were already suited for that. And that's why, if you are an employer and you send your Janie home with a single mom with 3 kids and a dog and a cat, and there's no room in the house to do this. She doesn't have a toolbox. She's intimidated by it. If something goes wrong, you can't send anybody in the house. That's our competition. Our desks, she can pick exactly what she wants, and the company is treating it as a reimbursed HR expense as opposed to a major capital project that's going to be depreciated over 10 years and is approved by the CFO. It really democratized this entire process. And also, at the same time, that channel that I described, the conventional, traditional channel, many of those dealerships have gone out of business or they're down 80% in staffing since COVID. Really, it's a major disruptor. So before COVID came along, it was already 60% e-commerce, 40% what they call the contract manufacturing channel. It's the same in Europe. And now, who knows what it is? It's probably 80% e-commerce. It just, like many things, took an existing trend and accelerated it.
Gotcha. What would you say is, sorry, do you wanted to go on? Sorry.
You asked about how many visitors we have and so forth. We also have a publishing arm. So we first started out by publishing advice on a site called workwhilewalking.com, which is the most trafficked site for information about standing desks and treadmill desks. We also review every product in the industry, and we used to actually be just a reseller of everybody else's products. And over time, we shifted over, and we're now 99.7% iMovr product. We don't sell third-party product anymore because our product line has expanded so completely, and we use the intelligence that we gathered by being a dealer for those companies to understand everything about, not just about the product design, but also their delivery experience or customer service and warranty experience, everything else, to create a gap analysis. So we're able to launch a product that will be a winner product every single time because we have a better purview on the competition, on all aspects of the competition. Not just that we know about more of them, but we know them very, very deeply. And so as a company mission statement, if you will, the about us is that we only create best-in-class products. So when we decided to launch the first quick install standing desk, we were actually thinking about female customers, who were about half of our customers, and we very frequently heard, this is 6 years ago, boy, I'm intimidated by this. I don't have a toolbox. I don't know who I'm going to get to come over. What if it goes wrong? How do I ship it back? It's very heavy. It comes on a freight pallet. How do I take this down to the UPS store to ship it back to you? And so we designed products that are robotically manufactured. They're extremely reliable. We have very, very rare failures. First of all, 10-year warranties is exceptional, industry leading. We just put a lot of money into everything from packaging to better motors, better glides and the linear actuators, all those kinds of things. And so we are premium priced. If you look at us in the e-commerce world, we're super premium. If you look at us against conventional commercial office furniture companies, we're a third of the price. We've cut out this whole channel, all these people taking a bite at the apple. And so we're selling factory direct. We're shipping direct from the factory where the customer custom ordered the desk, and it's out the door in a week, and up to a week later, anywhere in the country, they have it. And it's extremely high quality. So we kind of came into the market sort of cleaving in between. We didn't want to be in the race to the bottom with other e-commerce sellers. If you look on Amazon, everything on there is mostly made in China, very, very cheap. Going to last you a year or two. You'll be getting another one. But we get certified by the same, it's called the ANSI BIFMA. They certify products, office furniture products, to be durable. And that's what distinguishes, and that's why companies pay 3 times more to get a Herman Miller desk. Well, our products are also ANSI BIFMA certified, but we're a third of the price. So we started out with SEO strictly. First 3.5 years, never spent a dime on advertising, not one dime. And we grew that very, very quickly as interest in standing desks and treadmill desks grew. And we currently get over 1 million visitors a year on that site, workwhilewalking.com, which feeds about 40% of our business on iMovr. The rest now, of course, we advertise on Google and Facebook and LinkedIn and everywhere else to bring in more people than we can get out of SEO. And as you might imagine, since COVID, searches on the SEO side doubled, tripled, depending on the product category, and are still growing. So we definitely are seeing, the bad news is we have COVID. In fact, I had COVID back in January. Nearly killed me. It's a very serious thing. Now, our president this morning, we found out, has it as well. And so that's horrible. But on the plus side for the company, it just ejected us forward with tremendous velocity. And our problems now are all about keeping our factories up to production capacity And we're still seeing a continuing growth trend month to month as more and more companies are figuring out, let's let go of our lease because people aren't using the space. They'd rather work from home most of the time, and they're reconfiguring their spaces to have bigger, airier meeting rooms and hot desks. So people can come in when they need to collaborate. Otherwise, they can work from home as much as they can. And companies are creating budgets for that, even monthly budgets, so that if you need a new webcam or a headset or whatever, you don't even have to ask. You're just getting a monthly stipend for that. I don't know how things are going in Europe, but here in the States, this is a very, very strong trend now. And still more than half of the office workers in the US are still working from home. And some companies started bringing them back, and other companies have said, you're never coming back. We're going to keep a very small percentage of people working in the office every day, and the rest of you can come in for meetings. So this just creates enormous opportunity for all kinds of new furniture. The big thing for us is the IoT and SaaS and connecting all these desks. We have 7 products in a roadmap this year that will have Bluetooth in them, like our desks do now. And being able to sync up to your iWatch so you can get credit, but mostly for coaching to remind you, hey, you said you wanted to stand 30% of the time. You're in the zone. You completely forgot. Just reminding you gently, unobtrusively, you should stand up, change your position, and feeding that data back to together with biometrics that companies collect on their employees every year because they're part of a corporate wellness program, and being able to prove to employers that, hey, those standing desks you invested in, look at the ROI. Look at the ROI in presenteeism, in productivity, in various ways we can measure productivity, and especially in health. And so this is the future. This is the future that we have been working towards since we filed our first patents on this, on all the sensors involved 8 years ago. And we're just now starting to bring it out. And lo and behold, the most important thing all of a sudden became COVID tracing, contact tracing, right? Well, you got information on who's at what workstation through their phone and when they were there exactly and who was around them. And so we're pushing forth on that new #1 software feature that nobody would have ever thought of before COVID. But it's becoming a huge priority for employers because they're getting sued left and right. We're a very litigious society here in America. And of course, everybody, you get sick, you sue Amazon, right? You work for Amazon, you sue the company. And they announced yesterday they had 19,000 people already had COVID within the company. So you can imagine how busy that's keeping the legal department. Your only defense as an employer is to say you took reasonable measures. And it's a very, very reasonable measure, inexpensive SaaS subscription to be able to push a button and have everybody notified immediately that you were at a desk that somebody used or you were near a desk that somebody used later.
Interesting.
COVID, you should quarantine yourself and get tested. Right?
You brought up the website a couple of times at the beginning as a sort of differentiator by bringing sort of that business model in an e-commerce model. Today, I would be curious. Obviously, the website plays a major role. Maybe you can tell me, just maybe in your perspective, thinking about the website, what would you think is one of the major strengths of the website? Is it the ability to convert people once they're on the page? Is it the customer journey, the user experience that you're providing? Where do you see a strength of the page?
Well, we have a lot of future plans for enhancements to the website. We're not happy with it. We're never happy with it, right? So I always wanted to have a smoother UI, more 3D modeling, and more photography and things like that. By far and away, our biggest strength is live chat, which we staff 2/3 of the day. From early morning till late at night, we have extremely highly trained salespeople who are themselves either ergonomists or exercise physiologists. They know all the products, not just ours, but all the products in the industry. And we're either helping an individual get started on their journey and figure out, it's not just buying a desk. You have to figure out your monitor arm, your keyboard tray, your anti-fatigue mat, how you're going to do cable management and power management and all these kinds of things. Many accessories, active seating products that go with them and so forth. So, they help people from a place of incredible knowledge, much more than any competitor. And of course, you don't know across the internet, is this HR manager for a Fortune 500 company that's looking to buy 5,000 desks, or is it an individual? And we're really good at sorting that out immediately and helping them with whatever they need. They need to make a PowerPoint presentation for management on why they should make this investment and how everything would execute and the health benefits and so forth. We can help them with that. I mean, we go very deep with our clients on the enterprise side pre-COVID, because enterprise all of a sudden is 5% of the business. But on the enterprise side, we spend time with them to make sure that they properly socialize this into the company. So when companies make a wholesale change and all the employees in the call center show up and they have standing desks all of a sudden, they didn't know that they were going to get, it doesn't go well. Employees actually protest. Why are you making me stand? We learned a long time ago, if you ask them, hey, would you like standing desks? And one says, oh, I had one at my last job. They were fantastic. Or my friend has one at the company he works at. Would you do that for us, boss? You're the best boss ever. Fantastic. So we learned a lot of techniques that we try to, because we very often interface with HR or corporate wellness, we have that opportunity to train employees and sort of socialize the idea and make sure that nobody thinks it's weird that they're the only one on a treadmill desk in the corner of the room or something like that. And so we have a much more successful adoption, and then that customer is buying a lot more product faster and putting it in other buildings on other floors, and et cetera. And again, our competitors don't do this. They're typically somebody in Asia is answering the phone, or a live chat, and all they know is the script, right? So definitely for our website, it has always been on the editorial side on workwellwalking.com. Of course, it's hugely about our expertise there and all the primers that we have, all the guides that we have for people and companies. And then on iMovr.com, it's really that live interaction with one of our sales reps or workplace wellness solution advisors. They don't like to be called sales reps because they're not. They're really there to advise and consult. Most of them are very athletic, or they're personal trainers themselves in their history, and so the customers really appreciate that. Our goal is within 30 seconds, the customer's putting that sales rep on speed dial. That they immediately understand, that we immediately convey our expertise in this area. We're not selling commodity like our competitors are. Yes, these products are more expensive, but they're going to last a lot longer. They're cheaper in the end on a lifetime cost, and because they last forever. And of course, they're much more beautiful and reliable and easy to install. So we are appealing. I would say the market is definitely bifurcated. All our competitors tend to go after millennials and Gen Z, younger people who just want to buy something cheap. They have not yet had their first home where they bought IKEA furniture, and then the second home they say, okay, let's not do that again. It doesn't survive very well when you move, right? Older, higher education, higher responsibility, bigger budget, and they are the kinds of people, maybe they're a lawyer, doctor, or CPA, CEO, that they tend to read a lot and they like to research ahead of time. They want to buy something that's high quality. Mm-hmm. And so we have a huge amount of content, and that draws altogether more than 2 million people a year to our sites that are looking for either reviews or just advice, education. Very often they'll type what's the difference between a standing desk and a treadmill desk into Google, right? Those are the kinds of things that we definitely win. And certainly any product name, any category name, like if you put in standing desk reviews or treadmill desk reviews, you will see workwellwalking.com is number one in Google, and we've held that position for years. So it's all about education, right?
I see. And then on the website, we talked about the strengths of the website, and obviously I have to ask you now, what would you think? On the other hand, where do you think it has the most room for improvement? Is it the ability to convert? Is it to qualify the leads? You spoke about qualifying leads through the chat, or where else do you see the major room for improvement?
Well, there's the visual interaction and presentation, because whether you use Shopify or WooCommerce or Magento or BigCommerce or whatever, they were not really designed for custom manufactured products. They were designed for t-shirt size, color, right? And so when somebody builds a desk system on our site, they could be going through 20 drop-down menus of selections of accessories to fully outfit the whole desk. We try to keep the customer from having to go anywhere else to get that one other thing they're going to need, whether it's a desktop power strip or a monitor arm or something, and be able to accommodate all situations. We have customers using just a laptop. We have customers using 6 panoramic screens. doing day trading or something. And so we really, all that translates into a pretty long purchasing process online, and that's why they very often just go live chat or make a phone call. And then we help them through that. But we definitely want to convert that to more visual, like walking through the store and saying, I'll take that and I'll take that, as opposed to, oh, let me study this drop-down menu and this drop-down menu and this drop-down menu. Just to give you an idea, for standing mats alone, we have hundreds and hundreds of SKUs of sizes and colors and designs, shapes of standing mats, right? But they're hypercritical. If you're going to adopt a standing desk, you should absolutely use a standing mat. It's going to triple the amount of time you can stand every day. But then from a UI standpoint, it definitely becomes difficult. And it is, as far as our website goes, it is our most common piece of negative feedback from customers. Like, hey, I'm really happy with my desk, but I got to tell you, your website, like feels like it was quite an effort. Okay. And so that just goes with the complexity of the product that we manufacture. And we just recently launched a new line of desks called the Zip Desk. It's brand new. Nothing else like it ever existed, which is not custom manufactured. There's only a small number of size and color options, but it ships in a single carton. Every other desk ships in 2 cartons, and that means you can't go buy it at Office Depot because they won't stock anything in 2 cartons. You can't buy it on Amazon and have it delivered by Amazon the same day because their automation doesn't handle anything that isn't SIOC, ship in 1 container or ship in 1 carton. And so that was revolutionary, and it is a pre-assembled desk the customer can put together with no tools. They can also disassemble it and put it back in the same box and ship it on. So it's a great product right now because it's ANSI BIFMA certified like all our other furniture, but if an employee gets it at home and then we get vaccines and herd immunity and they say, oh, okay, everybody come on back to the office, great. It takes 2 minutes to take it apart and throw it in the car, or a few minutes more to put it back in the carton. They watch the video and they can ship it on. There's never been a standing desk design that you could actually take apart and not break in the process. You usually don't go back together a second time very well. And certainly not be able to go in a single carton and survive it. So this was a very long development cycle. It took us almost 4 years to produce it and perfect it to make sure, a 110-pound desk doesn't shatter in UPS in shipping. And so that's a different experience. We're building on a different website that's much more like buying a Casper mattress or something, where you're in and you're out in 5 minutes, very curated, 4 or 5 options, that's it. Customer goes to iMovr today, and it's like walking into the Museum of Natural History in New York. I'm going to spend 5 days in here discovering everything that this company has to offer. So definitely that's one aspect. I'd say another thing we are trying to improve is getting the customer a form that they can fill out ahead of time to ask all the questions that we normally ask in a live chat. Things like, did you measure the space? So sometimes the sales rep is sitting there for 3 minutes waiting for the customer to go measure the space or whatever, but thinking through all the computer equipment that they have, letting us know what ergonomic issues they have, how many monitors, how many CPUs, are they big ones that hang under the desk, or are they laptops, what have you, all the questions that we normally ask. We give them a form now that they can fill out ahead of time and just help them gather their thoughts, even on things like what kind of color, what kind of, do you want solid wood, do you want 3D laminate? And that also extends into an enterprise lead generation, if you will, in that we'll ask, hey, how many users is this for? Typically, that ends up being, in the old days, we need 100 desks, and they need to look like this. As a matter of fact, one of our biggest customers, believe it or not, is the German consulate in Washington, D.C. And so they bought, the first purchase, I think, was 170 of the same desk for everybody. Now, post-COVID, it's 170 desks purchased by 170 users and shipped to their home, and they're all different, right? And the beautiful thing about the way we manufacture is there's no difference in economics. We have no scale economics except shipping consolidation. That's it, because our manufacturing line is automated and one desk is different from the next. It doesn't matter. If there are 100 desks that are exactly the same, they're all almond cherry 30 by 72 tops. It doesn't matter if it's every desk is a different size and different color. It doesn't change our pricing. So if you look at one of the big differences between the way commercial furniture is sold and the way we are selling, commercial furniture says, well, listen, you really should pick one standard. It doesn't matter that all the offices are different sizes and some might even be different decors.
Mm.
If you buy 500 desks, here's your price. But if you buy 1,000 of the same exact desk, here's your price.
Yep.
We don't ever do that. You can go online and enter, hotels that have a different shaped room. Every room is different shape, and they did remodels one floor at a time. And on these floors, it's oak, and on these floors, it's cherry. They can they don't have to go back and forth with price quotes. The beauty of e-commerce is you have the price right there. It's transparent. There's no MSRP. I don't know if they play this game in Germany, but here you go into a furniture store and here's the list price, MSRP, $5,000. But today this sofa is $1,200, and it's a stupid game. But the furniture industry invented it, and on the commercial office furniture side, they still do that. So a customer who goes to Steelcase and Herman Miller and gets 2 quotes from their dealers and they go, well, I can't really compare this. It's really, really hard to compare. Well, that's intentional. They don't want you to be able to compare it very easily. But look, we'll give you a bigger discount. Yeah, but it's a discount off a fake price. So we hear it all the time. Customers love the fact that you just walk up to the web, you can design exactly what you want. There's a price immediately, put your credit card in or wire or whatever, and your desk is in production. Immediately as soon as you hit enter. So I think this really was maybe one of the last industries to be disintermediated by the internet. And I've been doing this a long time. I had a full .com ride in 1999, it just shocked me when I first entered this industry. And we entered it specifically to develop the cloud-based SaaS IoT solutions. Yeah. Never imagined we'd be a furniture manufacturer. It was a complete accident. We got frustrated that we couldn't get manufacturers to give us an API to their desks and to their treadmills. And so we started building our own. And the next thing you know, we've built this substantial company. It's a furniture company. And we're finally bringing out our sensors and SaaS solutions. Okay. So it was a long detour.
Very interesting answer here. Since we're slowly approaching the end of the interview, I want to make sure that we jump into the rapid fire questions that we have, where we learn a little bit about you and a bit about the company a little bit more. Sure. So maybe first question, what type of content do you consume? Where do you educate yourself?
Oh my gosh, that is endless. I like to keep up on tech. I read New Atlas and TechCrunch and stuff like that, because we are still, our DNA is mostly people from Silicon Valley and Seattle tech industry folks. So very much up on that. And we're in an industry where most people don't have any idea what the cloud is. But, they're good at metal, fabric, plastic, and wood. And so it's kind of weird. We're an odd duck in this industry. But I do like to keep up on that. I read certainly the online publications for the furniture industry to keep up on what's going on there, but nothing really exciting, to be honest with you. And I still keep up with the other industries that you mentioned. I still do like to keep up with what's continuing to happen in aviation and so forth. It all interrelates at one point or another, and especially with logistics. We're in a business that is very dependent on delivery, on logistics delivery, which has been highly impacted by COVID. And we actually see that as an opportunity to design experiences where somebody buying a $5,000 desk can have the delivery people actually bring it in, take their old desk out, put it in place, put it together, test it, make sure it's good, and vacuum after themselves, making that part of the delivery experience. So that's kind of fun. But we were talking beforehand. I have to admit, I don't read business books anymore. I think I consumed them all while I was doing my first 3, 4, 5, 6 startups. I'm on number 8 now. Certainly been asked to write 1 or 2, and I've done quite a few documentary TV shows on entrepreneurship and speak at conferences, so I'm a little bit more in the give back mode, but I do love reading autobiographies of great entrepreneurs when I have a chance to read. And honestly, at the pace this business is growing, I haven't had a chance to pick up a book since February. So at the moment, it's pretty much all online, digital. I am a news hound. As a CEO, I have to know what's going on with the economy and I watch a lot of Bloomberg TV to get educated on those things. And very fortunate, my wife is a physician, so on understanding where the trend lines are. If you think back to March and April, I had called all the CEOs of our suppliers who've been in business for decades, and they're very large companies. And I said, what are you using for forecast assumptions? I mean, I've been doing forecasts and projections for 35 years, and all of a sudden, all assumptions are out the window. Last year's sales this month are irrelevant. Yeah, we had a Memorial Day sale that was 6 times the volume of business of last year when people actually went out to picnics. And this year they were home shopping. They didn't have anything else to do. So got 3 days. I can finally pay attention to my desk situation. So, and you know what their answer was? Don't know, Ron. What are you doing for assumptions? Okay. I mean, we were all looking at each other like, oh boy, what do we do? So we didn't know in April, to be honest, end of February, we were ready to close the company down. All of our orders in the enterprise pipeline had canceled. Couldn't reach anybody at their desks. They weren't at their desks. Couldn't even find out what happened. And we were here at ground zero. We're a few miles from the first cases of COVID in the United States, here in Kirkland. And so we were tuned into it a lot earlier, but we really thought this was over. And then 1 minute we get a call. The sales VP comes in and says, I just got a call from a hospital asking for 20 standing desks for the radiologists to ship to their homes. Wow, okay. And in the next few days, the tsunami hit. And all of a sudden, it was every Microsoft and Amazon and Google employee that had been sent home here in Seattle very aggressively. They sent them home right away. And they said, you'll be home until June, July, which is now next summer. They keep pushing it forward. But these people are used to having a standing desk at work, and they couldn't dream of not having it at home. And they get paid very well. So we had a rush on our showroom, which we very rarely get traffic in. Some people were showing up in like full PPE bunny suits and stuff. I mean, it's like, I got to get my desk before we shut down. And online was a huge rush. So, is that a blip? We didn't know. In March, was this a blip? Is this just going to be for a month or two and then it's going to go away? If you listen to President Trump, he told you it's going to disappear like magic. On the other hand, I'm hearing what my wife is being told by the CDC and infectious disease department in our hospital and all that. And wow, this looks like it's going to be around for a while. But we really didn't know. So we kept having to adjust. The first thing we had to adjust to was our factories were shut down. And we had to deputize them because our governor put in an exemption for critical industries, for essential businesses, as they called it. And because we serve hospitals and we serve IT companies and banks and all the pieces of the economy that were carved out and say, you're essential, your employees can come to work. We were able to come to work, and we were able to deputize our factories in Michigan to keep going. But it was frantic. It was absolutely frantic. You got demand exploding while your capacity just shut down. So the opposite problem of the airlines, So I have to stay up. The bottom line is I have to stay up on economics. I have to stay up on the pandemic globally and economics and the stock market and everything else.
Cool. Last question before we wrapping it up today with the interviews, which is what I like to ask founders quite a bit. And since you have the experience of 8 companies, I'm very curious what you're thinking. So probably if you're thinking back to your first day, starting companies, it's a while ago now. Maybe we can think one about the first day in iMovr and one the very first day that you actually started building companies. What is the one advice that you would give yourself?
Oh, yeah, that's a really, really clear one. I've taken a lot of venture capital, corporate capital, angel investment over the years, over $100 million. And this company we did very differently. We skipped investors until 2015. We took a little bit of money from Barbara Corcoran. She's a famous billionaire here in the States on Shark Tank, if you ever saw that TV show. But otherwise, we took no money. We self-funded by finding founders that had a lot of rope, right? They had a lot of financial rope. And so I didn't start collecting a paycheck until last year, 7 years in. All of our founders didn't take any for 4 years. A couple have retired since then, and the rest stepped it in. And so we skipped about a $15 million funding round. We retained complete control of the board of the company. I used to think that wasn't important because I used to believe everybody else on, all the venture capitalists on the panel at the conference who said, "Oh, no, 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 that's a myth. You don't really need controlling interest." Well, you do. I've had too many of my companies go off the rails because those with control, the golden rule, he with the gold makes the rules. And so, the bad news is we didn't have the resources, right? We didn't have a lot of capital in the company until recently from cash flows. But the good news is we retained 95% ownership between the employees and the management, and we appoint our own board members. So I'd say, when I first started out, and I think most startups, most entrepreneurs look around and go, who's available that I like, that I've worked with, that's a jack of all trades, utility player, is passionate, and is willing to work for free. Right? And so those are your co-founders, and they dole out the stock immediately up front. And no, you don't know yet who's going to actually be the best contributor, who's going to be slacking, who's going to quit after 6 months when you didn't get funding. So I learned over the years to go for co-founders who have more experience and more financial liberty, that they can stick it out if it takes longer. We thought we'd be funded in 6 months, of course. Well, we're still here 8 years out, still haven't taken a big funding round, right? But we do have ownership of the company, and all of my COO, he did 5 venture-backed startups as a VP of engineering. So we've all had that experience before, and we chose to take a different path. And you see, like you said, in 1988, it was extremely uncommon for a 24-year-old kid to get a venture capital. Okay, unheard of, really. And now, since 1999, we're like, wow, you're 22? Did you graduate yet? Okay, great. Here's a pile of venture capital. Go run a company. Mm-hmm. And who are they going to run it with? Their roommate. Now, it worked for the guys at Google and Stanford, but it usually is the wrong way to build a management team, as opposed to going after people who really have the experience and they're in a good place where they can take a big risk and endure the slings and arrows of fundraising and all of that, right? It turned out to be very difficult for us to raise capital, which has always been easy for me. But furniture products are just not interesting to venture capitalists, right? They want software products. Those are easy and higher valuations and all of that. So anyway,
very cool. That was a whole bunch of very interesting information. Ron, thanks a lot for walking us a little bit through, the history of the company actually, and how you were able to, cut into the e-commerce market with a completely, innovative business model, even despite the products being very innovative themselves. So thanks a lot for sharing your story, all the information about iMovr, and I'm very pleased to have had you on the show with Platform Presents. Thanks a lot.
Been a pleasure. Thank you.